this little video together to show you how to install your wrap carbon fiber or solid black, solid white kit over your A-pillar piece or the piece behind your seat. Basically, here's what we have is two pieces to the kit, your A-frame piece and the piece that goes on the back behind the seats. You'll notice these pieces are considerably larger than the actual finished piece. The reason for that is you will be doing some trimming on this, and so we've given you plenty of material to work with. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is prepare the surface for the installation. Basically, you're going to want to clean this area real good. Basically a mix of about 10% alcohol with water. Don't use anything that has any waxes or polishes in it. Basically, you want to strip this down to the basic just paint finish, and that alcohol solution or mild detergent solution will do that. Basically clean the surface real good, get any dirt away. Also, if you bring the camera a little closer, make sure to peel back the insulation a little bit and make sure you get all the dirt that's in here as well. So you want to make sure, because we're going to tuck this graphic actually into this area, and you want to make sure there's no dirt in here, as well as the seam between the windshield and the surround. So basically make sure this area is nice and clean, as it is on this one, ready to be installed. Okay, a couple of things you'll need for the installation. Razor knife, click razor knife. This is basically what you'll be using for the trimming. This is not supplied with the kit. The Teflon coated squeegee, this is supplied with the kit. This will be used to actually apply the graphic. And then just some painter's tape or some masking tape will be used to help hold the graphic down while you're installing. So those are the three things you'll need for installation. Okay, so the kit here is on the car, and what you want to do is just kind of line up the kit in the general area where it's going to be placed. And you'll want to take a small piece of masking tape, and you're going to use this to hold the piece into rough place. So we're going to put the kit on, and we'll just tape it in place with the masking tape. Put it in place while we do our installation. You want to make sure that the kit goes completely past the A-pillar area by the door on both sides. Okay, and once you got it in place, just tack it down. Okay, so now we have the kit in place. So what we're going to do, we have just a small piece of tape holder there just to kind of hold it center. And what we're going to do is we're going to work with a small section. So we're going to apply another piece of tape. So what you're going to do is you're going to peel the backing liner away from the material up to the area where you have it taped. Now you're going to notice this material, this is the same material we use for bus wraps, car wraps. The material has air release properties. So basically when you push this down, it's going to stick. It's going to feel much more tackier once it's applied. Right now you can't really feel the adhesive too much because there's little beads of adhesive in here that don't break until you actually start applying it. So don't worry if it doesn't feel like it's real tacky at this point. That's the whole point, is it's not supposed to. So now that you've peeled back this much, you take your knife and you're going to cut, and be careful not to cut the car, but just cut off a chunk of the tape. And you're going to use your squeegee, and you're going to lift back the piece that you've exposed the adhesive on. And it's okay if it falls and touches the car. It's not going to really stick until you apply pressure. So now you can go ahead and lift your tape. You can get it right in about the right position. and then you start up around where you cut with the tape, and you can actually just use your fingers at first, just to set the piece, and then you'll use your squeegee, and you'll work the material downwards. Now try to stay in this area here when you're working it down. So now once you've set it in a vertical way, now you're going to work the squeegee this way. As well as this way. Make sure you keep the squeegee on an angle. Don't squeegee like this. Squeegee on an angle like this. And just basically work out all the bubbles. And you can go back over it with your hand. Make sure that there's no bubbles. Alright, so now we have the graphic set in the starting point. Now we can go ahead and remove all the tape. It's not going to move at this point. What we can do is flip the graphic over and peel off all of the remaining paper. And then place the graphic back up into place. Alright, now we're going to finish the installation of a surface. I'm going to again use the squeegee. And when you're working around this corner, you want to don't work straight, work from the inside to the outside. And basically pull the material as you're squeegeeing. The material is stretchy, and you will need to use heat, but not right at this point. You want to get around this corner. Get the area laying nice and flat on the piece. Until you're up to about the middle. Okay. We are at the center point here. We have the graphic mounted up to the middle. You see that the graphic might be a little out of alignment. So the nice thing about this material is, with a little bit of heat, I use a propane torch. Heat gun works. Really hot hair dryer. Preferably a heat gun or the torch is recommended. You want to get this material up to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit to make it really pliable and malleable, so it can form around and that's when the adhesive activates. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the vinyl lifted away from the surface. Stretch it a bit into place. You can use your fingers to push out the air, as well as the squeegee. Okay, got a little bit of a pucker down here. Again, the material is real resilient, so you can see there's lots of puckers in here from me stretching the material. And the material goes right back to its original shape. So that's the nice thing about this material, is it's very resilient. Just being careful with it when you're applying heat to it, not to apply too much heat and burn it. Get it to where it's nice and smooth, no puckers, no creases, no bubbles. Again, if you run into little creases, you can just heat the material up, work it with your fingers. Like I have a small little crease over here. So there's a small crease right here. What you want to do is, if you see any of these, you want to lift the material back up beyond the crease. You want to apply a little bit of heat, and then just grab it with your finger and just stretch it a little bit until the crease is gone. You can see that I've now stretched the vinyl, and now the crease at the point where we were concerned, which is to here where the body line is gone. So again, this material just takes a little time, a little patience, a little working with, so you can get it perfectly applied. Basically the same way we applied that from starting at the top, working your way down, applying is going to be the same from there, from this side down. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on going on that side and getting it all finished up, getting it trimmed down, which again the same trimming process you're going to repeat on this side. So let's go over. Okay, so we're going to finish the installation of this side, basically tucking the graphic in and trimming it so that it looks finished. First thing you want to do is open the door, because you now have some vinyl that's overlapping. So we're going to open the door, and you're going to lift up the vinyl, and you're going to see this rubber piece that's part of the insulation. And you're going to want to take your graphic, and you're going to want to apply that graphic all the way down into where that rubber is. And again, you may need to use a little heat in this area if necessary. Work it a little bit with your fingers. Basically get the whole piece underneath the rubber. Like so. Where you can close the door, and you can see the piece is completely covered. Alright, so our next step is going to be some trimming before we tuck. And you're going to see that we have about an inch or so extra on this side and about a half an inch or so extra on this side. And really all you need for the tucking is about a quarter of an inch to an eighth inch of material. So again, open the door. Make sure that your knife is sharp and ready to go. And what you're going to want to do is trim back to about that quarter-inch mark, all the way around. And again, this is crucial here, so be very careful not to cut too much, because you will end up with silver showing through if you do cut too much. And again, be careful cutting, because you also don't want to cut your rubber seals either. Okay, so you can see now I have about a quarter of an inch of material exposed up to that point. Now right at this point where the rubber meets the bottom, there's a corner transition right there. Again, just make sure you have only about a quarter of an inch of material showing there. Both bottom and horizontal positions. Now what you're going to do is lift that small rubber piece and start tucking your vinyl into the crease. And this may require a little bit of work on your part with the edge of the squeegee to get the material tucked in your finger. So you can just work it like so. I'm actually using my finger too also to extend up in this area. your way down. So you've got the vinyl tucked in the crease. Again, we'll take some playing with to get it all the way in. Once you've got the piece in at the bottom, you can go ahead and close the door. Now you can see it's all the way tucked underneath the rubber on this side. And make sure you just trim that down to your 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch overlap all the way around the corner. And again, you can always lift and double check your distance to make sure you're not cutting off too much. And again, around this bend. Now when you get to this round part, heat will definitely help this part of the install lay down very nicely. You can peel this whole corner away and use your heat to get that to lay down nicely in the corner. See? It's nice. It's laid all the way down. It's in the corner, no creases. Basically, you're going to repeat that process all the way along the entire top of the installation, all the way down the other side. So with that and that technique shown, we're going to go ahead and move on to the inside of the piece. Alright, so now that we've completed the installation on this side, it's completely behind the weather stripping. We're going to work on the inside now. You have no weather stripping to work with on this side. So basically the way you trim this piece is you're going to want to follow the window and use it as a guide. So we're going to start making sure that our piece is laid out flat against the window. What you're going to want to do, you don't have to start at the very bottom. You can just find a place that feels comfortable. And you're going to want to insert the knife right at the edge of the window. You're going to want to trim right along the window edge. And stay within the window edge. And what this does, this gives you a nice, even, straight line throughout the whole piece. Because when you tuck that, that edge will be seen. And you see we have a nice, clean edge. We can come along in here and finish our cut all the way down to the bottom of the window. Okay. Now, from here, it's just a matter of tucking the installation. And again, heat is key here. Just applying some heat. And starting at the corner here, where the material is going to be pushed in a bit, you're going to want to just start working your finger around and tucking that material in so that it goes all the way in, all the way around. And just get it in a little bit at a time, just work it in there. And once it's down a little bit, you can take your squeegee. You can actually use the edge of your squeegee and just start tucking that material in. And when you start getting up to this bend, you can use the corner of the squeegee and just start tucking it with the corner. And again, heating this up to the 200 degrees required for adhesion will make it stick wonderfully. Again, squeeze down all the way to the outside of the edge of that squeegee. insulation. So what you end up with is a very nice clean finish look that covers all of the silver. And you may notice right outside the inside of this seam right here, you may have a little bit of overlap or a little bit of extra. And you can actually see where the bottom is, where the material transitions. And you can actually just get in here with the knife and just ride that edge with the knife to get that extra bit out. And you're typically only going to see that extra bit on the bottom area here, not on the top. Take that little bit of extra vinyl out. And there you go. Perfect insulation. So again, both of those techniques used to apply the entire piece. Like I said, you're going to continue that cutting of that edge all the way around the window so that you have a nice clean edge to tuck. And then you'll come back again with some finish trimming, and that's it. Pretty much straightforward. All right, on to the last and final step of the insulation. Is basically bringing the vinyl up to temperature. We're going to just basically heat the whole thing up to about 200 degrees to ensure that it's going to stay adhered. Basically, you just keep applying heat to the surface. Again, you can put your hands on it, make sure it's got no bubbles, no air, any trapped air, anything. If you do have some small bubbles or trapped air, those should just push out. If you can't get them out, you can use a needle or a pen and poke them with the needle, and then they should just push right out. But this material has an air release property, so you shouldn't run into too many problems with air or bubbles. And again, once the material is heated up and cooled down, you're good to go. And that's the A-frame pillar installation portion of this installation video. Next, we're going to show you how to do the more challenging part of this installation, which is the rear silver piece behind the seats. So, okay, so the next part of this installation is the more trickier piece, which is the back hump piece, which is behind the seats, the silver part. And basically, what we have is about 9 inches of material. And what you want to do is, again, before you start, make sure this surface is completely clean, prepped. When you clean this area, go ahead and lift up the flaps too, and make sure this edge is clean. Make sure the edges in here are clean, and make sure the front edge behind here is clean, as well as the insides. So, because we're going to be tucking this material all around into here, as well as underneath this rubber seal. Make sure it's clean under here, and basically that's it. So, once your area is clean, you're going to lay out your piece. And what you're going to notice is you're going to notice, hey, there's a whole lot of material here. But there's two reasons for that. One is the piece is very narrow up here, but it's very wide down here. And one thing is we're going to wrap this material and bend it and stretch it all the way down into here. So this piece needs to be wide enough to cover this whole area. So again, what you'll do is lay this piece in position. And you'll use your masking tape to hold it in your beginning spot, beginning location. What you want to do is make sure that when you're positioning this piece that you leave only about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch of material hanging over the back edge, because this part's only going to wrap to the back about 1/4 of an inch because this is hidden away. And you want to be able to use as much of this material out front to wrap around here and to cover the front section, which is seen. So again, when you mount this piece, you're going to want to start it basically about 1/4 of an inch all the way back. And that's really all that you're going to wrap down on the back side. So we'll put one piece there for now. Hold that in place. once you've got that about 1/4 of an inch, okay, so we have a general point, starting point. So it's this. And since we're going to start on this side, what we're going to do is we're going to do a center out installation. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from here in the center of the graphic. We're going to work our way this way. And when we do the other side, we're going to repeat the process. Start from the center and work our way out. So with that being in mind, what we'd like to do is create what we call a hinge across the material. Get yourself a pretty lengthable size of tape. And it doesn't have to be, you know, strapped down. Just get it to where it's held in place. So that you're not worried about it moving too much when you lift up the side. I'm going to go ahead and lift up this side of the material. Peel back your release liner. And again, you can peel this all the way back to your hinge. And then trim off the release liner. And again, be careful not to trim the car, because you don't want to cut the car. And then you can go ahead and bring the piece back into position. And again, we're going to start from the center out. So we're going to make sure our 1/4 inch is still applicable, which it is. And we're going to start squeegeeing on the flat surface, up the hump, over the hump, down the hump, and just basically what you want to do is pretend this isn't here. Just pretend this is one small smooth surface. You're just going to continue to squeegee right over the creases, all the way down to the bottom. Don't push too much into these gaps. Just get it to lay nice and flat. You're still shooting?
Yep.
Okay. So once you've got the piece mounted, again, all the way over the hump, down to the crease, you can go ahead and lift your hinge tape. And do the other side as well. Release liner. Again, any little creases, just make sure that it's nice and smooth all the way across the entire flat portion of the top of the vehicle. Alright. Once that's done, we're going to do our initial heat set. We're going to set this flat area, go up. And again, if you notice any small bubbles appear, just go ahead and smooth those out with your finger. You'll notice the vinyl is actually starting to settle as it warms up. Now, the two major challenges with this, the remaining of this piece of the install, is this sharp curve right here. You have a 2 transition curve right here. So what you're going to have to do is we're going to have to basically apply a good amount of stretch to the vinyl in order for this to come off successfully. So one of the things is we're going to make a couple of relief cuts here. We're going to start with the top of the hump, basically find rough center of the hump, go about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Actually, what you want to do is go about the width of this piece of plastic here, which is about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. What you want to do is come out away from the top of the hump about that far, and with your knife, just make a small incision straight through. So basically we've separated the vinyl here so that it can relax a little bit while we stretch the vinyl. The next 2 relief cuts we're going to make is we're going to make a couple of relief cuts in the what do they call these? The buttress flaps. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a relief cut. And what you want to do is push your finger into the groove of the crease, and then find center, which should be the center of that groove, and then just cut straight out. And you want to do that on both parts of the buttress flap. A couple of relief cuts there. Now, from here, what we're going to do is we're going to apply this section, but we're going to apply it from the deepest curve outwards. So we're going to apply from right here, roughly, and we're going to work our way out this way. So what we want to do is we want this vinyl to be heated up real good. And just to give you an example of how heated this vinyl is watch how easily it stretches. You see how much it stretches and comes back? I want the vinyl to be able to stretch. It's going to be a little warm to the touch. And you'll notice it's got some finger mars and whatnot. Heat it up again. It goes right back. So again, heat that vinyl up real good. And then what you want to do is take from the centermost point and you want to pull straight down. And then you're going to curve this over with your fingers. So you've got that center point anchored. Now hold here and then take your hand and move it over to here and stretch again. And just keep stretching this until you've got this piece stretched all the way down until you get up to about the area where you cut, where you made the relief cut. Okay? See how that's heated and it transitions over real nicely? Okay, now you're going to do the same with the rest of the piece. It may require heating again because it may have cooled. So we're going to heat this section up again. Careful not to burn your finger. And we're going to stretch this piece until it covers that whole part. And make sure that it covers all the way out to the corner, because this is that deep transition. Okay? Now you've pretty much got the vinyl wrapped over this corner and wrapped into this corner. So now you notice we have a little bit of a crease here, so that's no problem. We're going to go ahead and lift this up a bit, and then we're going to just heat it up a bit. And just stretch it back into place. And again, this may require a little bit of patience in working with the vinyl, but it will lay flat, I can promise you. So there you have it. The vinyl has worked all the way around this curve. It's worked all the way up to the edge of the window seal. So basically from this point, it's pretty much ready for trimming in this section. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to leave this part for now and finish working up to the center on this side. So, coming back to our initial part, and actually, why don't we go ahead and trim off some of the junk, just to, not going to do a finish trim here, we're just going to get some of this extra vinyl out of our way. And you can start right up at your relief cut and just trim back enough. Don't make it all the way to the final cut, but just get some of it out of your way. Alright. Now you're back up to your relief cut. Now what we're going to have is we're going to have a small overlap right here, because if we stretch this so much, we continue this in, it's probably going to deform a little bit. So what we're going to do is use the benefit of this relief cut to help us out. So we're going to warm this vinyl up again. stretch this vinyl too much, it's going to start to discolor. So you want to make sure you don't stretch so much that it discolors. You want to just push that down the same way with your fingers that you did the rest of the piece. All the way up to the relief cut. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to make another relief cut right at this point, and we're going to go all the way up to this corner. So we're going to cut the vinyl all the way up to this crease, about right there, right where it starts to crease over. And you're going to want to fold this finish under right there, so it's completely flat. And now, because we're transitioning the other way, we need to bring the vinyl this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat the vinyl up. And then we're going to pull the other way. And this may require a couple of heatings, but what you're going to end up with when you see the finish is you're going to end up with a very small relief cut right here and an overlap. Because it's just, if you stretch this to the point where you get both of these transitions, it's just going to decolor this vinyl too much and probably won't adhere for very long. So it's better to have a small relief cut that's pretty much not visible when the seats are up to give it that finished appearance and still stay stuck, and adhered. Again, we're applying heat and using, sometimes it requires, a couple of extra fingers if you need to grow some. But you're going to want to apply that vinyl and just keep pushing it in, keep stretching it until you get over this transition. Okay, now we're going to cut off just a little bit more material, because basically the remainder of this piece doesn't need much. It's only about ½ inch to an inch in material. So we're going to trim off some of our excess material. And again, heat and apply. And again, we're going to end up cutting to a point where there's going to be a trim mark right here. So again, when you cut this, don't cut too much, otherwise you'll end up cutting into the silver area right here. So you want to just make sure you cut enough off so that you have enough to trim the remaining piece here, and then there'll be a trim line that follows right in this seam right here. So the remainder of this piece, this section to the middle, just going to be working the vinyl a bit. And this helps to have squeegee and to work the vinyl into that crack. And what you do is you place the edge of the squeegee against the outside of the curve, and then basically ride the curve into the groove. Alright, once you get into the groove and the piece is laying down flat, get it as flat as you can, we're going to go ahead and trim from the center out at the inside of the crease out. And you should just ride that cut all the way straight out. And then you're going to want to use your squeegee again, and you want to tuck any extra that you have at the edge of the squeegee into the crease. going to go ahead and heat it up again. The temperature, the whole thing, all the areas, all the surfaces, get it up to 200 degrees. So the adhesive really locks in. Make sure you don't have any bubbles. Alright, so now from here we're going to do our finished trimming on the front side of this. And again, you don't have to start all the way in the corner. So I find it better to find a nice comfortable space within this curve and then use that as your starting point. So we're going to find that spot, say here, insert the knife, and then basically ride out the edge of the plastic. Be careful not to slip with the knife, as I just did, until you've made your finished cut. And again, you want to go ahead and tuck those edges, heat them up again. Now what you can do is, now you have a starting point here. You can go ahead and make sure you're nice and flat here, all the way down past the cutting edge. And you can insert your knife again, and you can just continue from this point on into the curve and all the way around. And there you have that. That piece is pretty much finished. So we're going to move on to this corner and finish that off. And you're pretty much done with the front side of this half. So now, what we want to do is we only want to tuck about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of material. So we're going to basically fold this material back to the edge, and you want to leave only about 1/4 of an inch of material. And again, cutting here is crucial. Make sure you don't cut too much, otherwise you will have silver showing, which is what we're doing this, and the whole reason that we're doing this in the first place. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start right here. We're going to lift up this rubber seal. And we're going to tuck the vinyl just right under that seal, all the way around. When we get to the front, we're going to do the same. We're going to lift that seal, tuck it all the way in with our fingers. You can lift that seal up pretty good and set the seal back down. And basically, if you have any little flags hanging off, any extra little vinyl, such as I do right here, you can just go ahead and trim that out. And there you go. Nice, finished all the way to the inside of the seal. No silver showing. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and finish our buttress flap. So now you remember how I showed you how to press into the inside of the seam here and make those relief cuts? Well, I want you to do the same thing on this seam right here on the inside of the buttress flap. Just go ahead and use your finger and press that in real good, and then find center with the knife and just cut it all the way through. And make sure you cut all the way around the corners too, so that you match up. So basically at this point the flap should be free. Okay? Now what you're going to do is heat the whole thing up once more. And while the vinyl is still hot, you're going to lift it up, and you're going to tuck the vinyl into the edge. And I'm tucking the vinyl that's actually on the outside of the buttress flap. And you may need to just continue to move the buttress flap around to get it out of your way. But you're going to want to work that piece so where all those edges are nice and tucked. And right at the hinge point, you might use the squeegee to tuck it. Okay, once you've tucked that, we're going to go ahead and heat it one more time, and this time we're going to do the flap itself. So we're going to lift the flap all the way up, and you're going to want to wrap this piece all the way over. So we're covering up all the silver. and then right at the edge, just use your finger and push it around, and all the way down the side. And now for the back part, you lift it all the way up and reach your hand around the back side, and you bring your fingers around to basically push that down. So work that from the back corner. And again, what you should be left is just a small section by the hinge. You can use your squeegee to push that in. Okay, once it's all pushed in, again, heat it all up. Make sure nothing lifts up on you. Keep the edge up. Make sure it's all nice and down. Alright, and there you have that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and now trim the excess vinyl off the back of the buttress flap here. And again, you're just going to trim up to the silver area because there's a bit of black, so you could just put the knife right in that space and just guide it right along. And there you have a nice trim. Just make sure you can go ahead and tuck around any little extra little bit of vinyl that might be showing. And there you have it. Alright, so basically we've completed the first half of this install on the front side. We're going to go ahead and finish up the back. That little bit of vinyl that we have. And this will be pretty simple. Basically all we're going to do here is we're going to heat the vinyl and just tuck it over. And when you heat this, make sure you start on the hump first, on the curved area first. Start again in the curved space. And work your way into the middle of the flat space. And there you have it. Basically, the other half of this installation will happen exactly the same way we just did this side. You'll start again in the middle, work your way down, do the front, do the buttress flap, and then finish off the back. Once completed, you'll be able to just go ahead and put your wind restrictor or wind deflector, if you have one, back on. Won't be any interference. And that's pretty much for the install.